Now, let's get back to the script. This person here is one of my heroes. I mean, we have a lot of heroes. This is one of my heroes. He is, first and foremost, a public servant. We're honored to have public servants here, but this one in particular brings both deep roots and visionary leadership to the Commonwealth. He's the proud son of immigrant parents who dedicated their lives to the Lawrence public school system. Any teachers here? Former teachers, educators, you're all my heroes. Growing up in Lawrence, in the Merrimack Valley, he learned firsthand the value of hard work, the power of quality education, and the strength that comes from community, especially when communities are supported by strong unions and a shared sense of service. Today, he brings those values with him to the State House as the senator for the 1st Essex District, representing Methuen, Lawrence, and parts of Haverhill. He holds a degree in political science from UMass and has long been a champion for equity, opportunity, and progress in our region. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so honored to bring to the stage, will you please welcome with me our dear friend, one of my heroes, Senator Pavel Payano, who will now introduce our upcoming fireside chat.
Woof, if you would have told me at 16, 17 that I was going to be introduced by the great Jose Maso, I would have been like, I don't know about this. So funny story, Jose, now that I see you in front and I spent the weekend at UMass, is something that people don't know is that when I was like 16, 17, I thought I was going to get into the radio business. Yeah, no, I thought, when UMass gave this little guy and some of his friends an opportunity to have the 1 a.m. slot. So, every Saturday, instead of, hanging out and partying for 2 months, we had 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. And at the time, Jose, I didn't know who you were, but people were like, you're going to be the next Jose Maso from Western Mass. And I got to look up this guy, right? But the bar was super, super high. And, I see some friends here from Lawrence, my mentor, Tony Azula Gomez, and Secretary Stolba. She's giving me this look because she's like, Pavel, you have 2 left feet. Well, how did you think that you were going to be, you were going to get into the music entertainment business? And you know something? She was right, because after 2 months, I'm like, I'm going to leave it to the expert. No, but I'm really grateful being here. As Jose said, my name is Pavel Payano. I'm honored to serve as a state senator from the 1st Essex District, which comprises the cities of Haverhill, Lawrence, and Methuen. I'm the first senator from Lawrence in over 40 years, but I'm also the first senator of Dominican descent, and I'm one of, no, thank you, applauses, no, that's... But I also serve as a senator, one of 2 Latino senators in Massachusetts, myself and my friend and brother Adam Gomez, senator from Springfield, who deserves his own applauses. Because one of the things that we constantly talk about is that huge responsibility that we have, not only to represent our districts and advocate for our district 110%, but also advocate for Latinos across Massachusetts, immigrants, and working class people, which is one of the reasons that led me to decide that I can advocate for Latinos, outside of the entertainment business, get into a different field. And it leads me here today. Before I held public office, before I worked on policy, I was a kid watching my parents, 2 immigrants from the Dominican Republic, stretch every dollar, every minute to raise a family in a country that didn't always see them. They didn't have a roadmap. But what they did have was some faith. Not just religious faith, but a deep faith in the possibility, in the hope of reaching their version of the American dream. And when I think about what we're here to talk about today, childcare as infrastructure, as an economic engine, that's what comes to mind. Possibility, hope. Because childcare is more than just watching some kids. It's about unlocking the future. I'm going to tell you a story. My friend told me a story of a young woman she met in Haverhill not so long ago. She ran a small in-home childcare center. It wasn't fancy. A converted living room with bright rugs, a whiteboard, and books stacked high on a plastic shelf. She wasn't running the center to get rich. She was running it because she saw what was missing in her neighborhood, a safe place where children could grow, a space where working parents, especially mothers, could drop off their babies and breathe. She told my friend, I just don't watch kids, I build futures. I'm giving parents the freedom to chase opportunity and children the foundation to reach it. And that's what today is about. Because childcare is not a luxury. It's not a nice to have. Childcare is a necessity. It's economic policy. It's small business development. It's gender equity. It's community safety. It's generational wealth. And we are not putting it at the center of our strategy for growth, then we're not really growing. We're just surviving. Right now, families across the Commonwealth are making impossible choices. Do I pay for childcare or do I pay for rent? Do I go back to work or do I stay home with my toddler because care costs more than I earn? And providers are facing burnout, running centers at the edge of closure because wages are too low to attract and retain educators. And yet, there is also much hope because Massachusetts is leading. My Senate President Spilka, Governor Healey, and thanks to my colleagues, both from the House and the Senate, we've made historic investments from universal child care credits to expanded access to connected care, to funding community college, which is huge, to signing the $4 billion Mass Leads Act that includes innovation and workforce development. We're putting our money where our values are, and that includes early education. It includes you. Because let me say this clearly, the future of the state depends on whether or not we treat childcare as the backbone of our economy. And I believe that we are finally starting to do that. There's a quote that I return often to, by Undati Roy. She wrote, "Another world is not only possible, she's on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing." Well, this room isn't quiet. It's alive with urgency, energy, and ideas. You're not waiting for a better world, you're building it. And so is ALX. Under the visionary leadership of Eneida Roman, this organization is not just advocating, it is innovating. It is showing us what it looks like when women of color are given the reins and the resources to lead. It's investing in Latina-owned centers, amplifying local talent, and moving with the speed and heart of our communities. The speed that they deserve. I'm gonna take a moment to talk about what kind of leadership means. And it is someone who sees connections where others see silos, who understands that the strength of a state is not just measured by their GDP, but by how many parents can tuck their children in at night, knowing they had care, safety, and love that day. No, I heard some applause. Let's applause. Sometimes this work is thankless, so anytime you see a public servant like that, and there's an opportunity to applause and say thank you for the work, I say take it. She's exactly the kind of leader this moment requires, relentless committed to equity and relentlessly effective in delivering it. Which brings us to the conversation we are about to have. In just a few moments, you'll hear from Governor Maura Healey, someone who has not only broken barriers as the first woman elected governor of Massachusetts, but who governs with courage and compassion. She has made clear that early education is not a side issue. It is central to our economy, our workforce, and our values. You'll also hear from Commissioner Amy Kershaw, who I feel like once I started this job, I'm bumping into her a lot in the Merrimack Valley. I'm always grateful for the attention you give to our district and to our child care workers. Your decades of experience in public service have shaped some of the most important and impactful early education policies in our country. She knows that it is not enough to pass good laws. We have to see how they land. How they show up for providers like Paula Barnes, like Little Adventures Family Childcare. Senator Gomez says hello. How they lift up communities that have been ignored for too long. This fireside chat is more than just a panel. It is a visioning session for the Commonwealth as to who we are becoming, where no family is left behind, where every child has a foundation for success, where every provider is treated like the essential educator that they are, and where the economy works for all of us, not just at the top. To everyone in this room, whether you are a policy leader, an entrepreneur, a caregiver, a parent, or you are part of that vision. You are making Massachusetts a place where progress is not just promised, but practiced. And I promise you this, as your state senator, I'm going to keep fighting for funding, for fairness, equity, and for a future where every family, regardless of their zip code, can thrive. So thank you, ALX, and thank you to our incredible panelists, and thank you for never giving up on what is possible. Now, please join me in welcoming someone who needs no introduction, a true leader in her own right, and our moderator for this powerful conversation, the incomparable Eneida Roman.